My camera's very thing. Hi, everyone, and welcome. This is Krishna Priya. This is the Human Colony Hucolo webinar. It's Saturday, the 22nd of June, 2024. And we have with us by great, how do you say, not serendipity, but by great, what is it called? When things
Synchronicity.
synchronicity, but it's serendipitous that it was synchronistic. We have our wonderful founder, Max Rempel, with us. Hi, Max. How are you?
I'm great. Hello,
Yeah.
everybody. Hey, Karen.
Hi. So in our room today, we have a nice intimate group. We've got Dawn and Ashwarya and myself and Max. And Max is going to be doing something very beautiful by presenting a paper that he's been working on that he'll be giving at a conference later in the week. What is the conference?
It's more like an interview rather than a conference, to be
Okay.
precise. But yeah, I will be just speaking about presenting to a bigger audience. Will present my online interview, presenting my project, which is on extraterrestrial genetics and alien hybridization program, actual proposal for research and call for funding.
Okay.
So we, I just, I had that idea since the beginning, but since 15 years ago, but now it's became financially possible to actually study that. And I can today I plan to like go in detail and answer all the questions. And actually, in my mind, that is the first time I publicly speak about it. So we can
Okay. Well,
go into all the details of that.
since we have a small group, we'll rely on the people in YouTube, also the people in the room to come up with some questions. And maybe you can give us some questions that you anticipate, because maybe
I will. I will.
that's great. Great. So before we get started, we'll do a blessing. Who wants to do a blessing? Dawn, do you want to do a blessing?
Sure, I can do a blessing.
Okay. You should turn on your camera. There we go. All right. We'll just do one blessing before we get going. Whenever you're ready.
Araw masa araw rukata rua tiete taru shana asua e kane me se e piano usuni e tota yu te hale tararo naru asana abaha asanam ashwa.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Just a few announcements before we get going. In August, the 8th through the 12th, we have our Oneness Gathering, and it's going to be in outside of Rochester and on Anand Lake in I can't say it in New York somewhere, but it's there. And we'll be getting together. We'll have all kinds of people. Jim will be there. I will be there. Will be there. Angie, as well as Rob Gothier and his wife Kalina will be there. We have sound baths and kirtan and all kinds of wonderful activities, as well as channeling and just hanging out and getting to actually see each other face to face for the first time for many of us, even though we've been meeting together in Zoom rooms and Google Hangouts for years and years. But it'll just be a nice time to get to meet everyone in a beautiful setting, in the woods, in nature. So please, if you're interested, you can send an email to Angie at classes@hucolo.org. So if you're interested, please do, because we do have some spots, though we are pretty much full. Okay, so Max, let me just get into a better position here. I'm holding my computer. I should maybe do it like this. Okay, there we go. So Max, welcome. So why don't you tell a little bit about what you're presenting, and what is your interview going to be on, and what is the position you're taking, and I'll just basically hand it over to you now and let you sort of conduct this as a interview that we're participants watching, and we will ask questions as needed.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So let's start from the price of sequencing. DNA sequencing is quite inexpensive these days. The whole genome sequencing, like from the beginning to the end, excluding the very ends, which are telomeres, costs about $2,000. And just looking at variable pieces, which are called variations, mutations, markers, Just a million markers, million spots in the genome costs $100, and you can do it through multiple platforms, 23andMe,
Mm-hmm.
and MyHeritage, ancestry.com, and another maybe 10 other competitors. But 23andMe is the most popular. So for $100, you can get all your mutations. Mutations, variations. Like mutation is called in genetics when it's deleterious, bad, and variation if it's just something which is one way or another. Some races or some families have one way, some people have another way. So these are called variations, genetic variations. Usually these are point mutations, A substituted to G, A to T. They're called SNPs. SNPs, one letter change. Like if you have a book, you change one letter, it's called a SNP. The whole human genome is 23 chromosomes. Chromosomes come in pairs, so then it becomes 46 chromosomes, and if you combine them together, it's 3 billion letters. If you look at pairs, it's 6 billion letters, 6 billion nucleotides. And it occupies about 6 gigabytes on the flash drive. So that's it. So that's possible. And the time to sequence human genome is basically 2 days. You can submit it in 2 days. You get. I mean, you can might wait in a line could be a little longer, but in 2 days you can get the whole human genome. So with a small amount of money, we can sequence people, right? And the prices are very affordable. So I submitted it even 15 years ago. I submitted my sample, got my markers, and they already assign us to, like, they provide the service assigning you to different races and sub-races, tribes, and you can see that, like, that part is that, like, Russian, Jewish, Ashkenazi Jewish, and lots of other people have all sorts of mixes. So you can look at your ancestry, but what they don't look is at alien infusions, alien injections of genes. And I started my extraterrestrial research around my birthday. I remember the date, just the day after birthday in February 2009. So it's now 24. So 24 minus 9, it's getting 15 years now. And I read a book which is called The Field by Lynn McTaggart, and it's a great book, still a great book.
Yeah, she's still around and still writing,
yep,
doing research in that area.
and she published more books.
You want to tell people what she
yep,
what she's about?
Yeah, so she's a really good journalist and interviewer. So she just realized it would be great to go around and interview people about the quantum nature of reality and quantum nature of biology, quantum nature of life, essentially quantum biology. And she went to great thinkers and interviewed them in depth, and then retold that in a very consistent, coherent way, in a way scientists really can't speak. Many scientists are more in their science, and you have to translate it into her understandable language, and she did a great job in that. And the whole book is very inspirational. So there you have the own topics of nature of the field, and specifically morphogenetic field, morphic field, biofield, and the quantum nature of reality. And typical quantum laws is principle of Heisenberg, uncertainty principle, that you cannot grasp everything completely. There is always something which is uncatchable. Heisenberg principle. There is if you make something, if there is a closed system, you look at this closed system with high certainty measure, there will be an uncertain component there. And the more you make something certain, the more the uncertainty just jumps in as surprises. So in science we deal with that all the time, in business we deal with it all the time. In life you cannot have things for certain, never. So it's that's Heisenberg. He discovered that in early 30s, maybe 1928 or something around that. And another is Schrodinger's principle, that observer changes the system he observes. Just by conscious observing the system, you change it. So if you think about it, it changes. You kind of connect to it. The next principle is quantum entanglement, where particles come in contact, one particle becomes connected to another particle. When people come in contact, they separate, but changing one person would change another somewhat. So this is called quantum entanglement. That through that principle, we can intuitively see, think, and do telepathic connection with other people, psychic connection. So double slit experiment and principle of particle wave duality, that we are sort of solid, but we are also a wave at the same time. We are made out of waves, and quantum physics understand that really well. We are made of waves, and quantum biologist understands that an essential quality of life is its wave property and quantum property. And you go from there. There is much more, but that's kind of the basic common like highlights of the quantum nature of reality. So after I sort of finished the book, I closed the book. 10 minutes from that, I remember the thought came, which is somewhat unrelated, but I thought, if this is true, let's check out the aliens. It was that weird. I just, from quantum nature from reality, I thought, now let's check out the aliens. And I started my research. I don't stop for a week. I was digging through internet, and I'm very efficient in digging, so I know which questions to ask and go do research. And then in a week later, I googled ufology, Rochester, New York, where I was located at that time, where Jim is. And surprise, next day there was an ufology interest group meeting in the bookstore, Barnes and Noble, I think it was. And maybe it still is. It's near RIT. Nice conference room. And I was a bit late, as I'm always late. And I came maybe 10 minutes after a presenter started. And it was my good friend now, an abductee, which is essentially an experiencer. So abductee is when you're being abducted by the aliens without your explicit permission. And experiencer is when you are taken by aliens after after you giving them an explicit permission. So that friend was actually an experiencer because they first asked her when she was a child, and she agreed. They asked her a very specific question: can you help saving a race? And she still doesn't know which race she was agreed to save. Is it our race or their race? Maybe both. In any case, so she is a conscious experiencer, and the second thing she asked, that if they allow her to keep her memories, and they promised, and she keeps a lot of memories. So that single presentation then back in February 2009 was basically, it gave me pretty much everything. And from that I learned about the alien hybridization program, about abduction, about humans being born here from abductees and experiencers, and alien parents. So essentially two human parents, which could be both abductees, or only female can be an abductee, become, instead of parents to a child, become essentially grandparents to that child. And two alien parents become also grandparents. So the child becomes, have pretty much anywhere from 50% of human DNA to 25% of human, like normally two parents contribute 50 and 50%. But if there are grandparents, then all four grandparents contribute 25. When it comes to human and aliens, I don't know. It's anywhere from, it could be anywhere. But the child is certainly a child from the parents, but has some of the genetics of the alien parents. And so they have four. and the children often are being abducted. It often goes in the families, and everything is pretty much transdimensional, ethereal. Sometimes they lose the memories. In most cases, they don't remember stuff. There are like, you have to do hypnotic regression to pull out that memory. But the DNA is there. It's physical and it's super reproducible. So we're going from something very ethereal, astral, to something very physical. Like we can extract DNA. A human body contains about a pound of DNA. If you extract DNA, dry it up, it's about a pound. 250 grams plus minus, depending on your weight. And the precision of your DNA is super high. It's one uncertain base letter per 10,000. Essentially, if you take DNA from any part of the human body and sequence it, 9,999 bases would be identical, one would be unclear, uncertain. So it's a very solid, scientifically studyable, very precisely measured piece of chemical. So that allows us to test a very simple hypothesis that the children of alien abductees contain less than 50% of the DNA of their parents. Nobody tested that, and that's so easy to test, it's even laughable. So that is easy, cheap, publishable. We only need volunteers who would submit their 23andMe reports, and we can measure that.
So you don't even need to do new testing if they've already been tested.
Right.
And
that's yep.
No, sorry.
You can turn on your camera if you like.
Oh, okay, sorry. And do you expect that? How would does 23andMe, because it does give you percentages, you're this percent English, this percent African, whatever. So are you looking for that unknown? How would you measure what you consider to be?
Yes, great question. That's exactly what needs to be asked. I just about the formality. I'm the only one showing on the screen. If you want your face to be shown, you have to unpin me.
Oh, well, or I can also pin myself or something.
Just unpin yourself, and then whoever speaks will. Yep, perfect.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So anyway, so the question was, how do you tell by 23andMe results whether people have less than 50% of human ancestry, of parent ancestry? So I call this phenomenon, it's not described yet, it's completely new. Nobody bothered to give it a name because everybody believed that it's called Mendelian inheritance, that two parents contribute 50%. So far, when you study that, in 99% of cases that works fine, and in 1% of the cases where it doesn't work fine, geneticists believe it's just a mistake in genotype and measurement, and they just trash it. So, and that's about the percentage of recent alien hybrids, I call them hybrids, children of abductees, hybrids, in the population. I don't know exactly. It could be 0.1%, it could be 10%, it could be 5%. I think in some areas it could be higher. We'll talk about that. But answering your question, essentially when the computer program doesn't see perfect Mendelian inheritance, 50-50, they assume there is an error and it just ignores it.
So they just put it like in a category of other or whatever, or
yeah, that's a category other, and they don't bother. And I understand them. That works pretty much 99% of cases. It works. If there is a glitch, they sort of do their best based on their model of us being children of humans. Mm-hmm. So to discover this incomplete parent inheritance or parent genetic transmission, we need the raw data, and luckily 23andMe provides raw data at no price. You just have to give like login, ask for it, and you can download the whole million of SNPs. It's a pretty big file, but not too big, a few megabytes. And we need a bioinformatician who would reanalyze the data and see if there is that incomplete transmission, incomplete inheritance, if it actually exists there. Okay. I think I covered the simplest part, and there is tons more. Do you have questions?
I have a question about the actual children. Do you find that the people had their first abduction or visit before or after they had children?
Before what?
Well, if you got a parent, a woman who's had a baby, but is her abduction taken place before she was actually pregnant, or did she experience it after? When is her experience of alien abduction or visitation? When is that started for her?
Which woman? Specific woman or general abductees?
And I'm just wondering, like, is there a criteria in what will be the target group? Are these people?
Oh,
when did their contact start? Before or after pregnancy?
Yep. So that is an open question, and I will give a simple answer. Simple answer is that ideally we want children of abductees, for abductees to know. So you should know that your parent was abducted. It's very rare that parents actually share that with children, but it happens. There are families where they just know that they both been abducted, the parent and the child, and it's kind of they keep it quiet, but they know they share with each other. So that would be ideal. We need children of abductees. Actually, there are plenty of them. So in Rochester, after that, I visited the ufology interest group. It was run by Richard Dolan, and I'm hoping they continue now. Richard Dolan became a pretty good celebrity, and he did a television program. So it was a pleasure to see how he works. He presented there his new ideas for books, presented his research. So it was an insider look how the ufology field actually functions. And there I started an experiencer support group pretty soon after. And I now invited people. And it's very funny that I cannot predict who is an experiencer. People come very normal, and everybody shares, and at the end they share their story, and their normal appearance then coincides with very extraordinary stories, and some of them have pretty extraordinary experiences.
Does there tend to be an age range of people that are like a certain, because you're talking about parents and their children, but what about maybe their parents, the grandparents? Were the grandparents also abductees? I mean, do we have that kind of knowledge as to how far back these abductions started? I mean, I know they've been going on for a long time, but
right.
People are saying, because if they're giving birth to hybrids and then their hybrids are giving birth to hybrids, then you would see a significant, I think, lessening of DNA material, right?
Yep. Yeah. Okay, cool. Great question, and I'm sort of, there is a temptation to answer it in a short form and in a very long form, and I think I will do like intermediate.
Okay.
So essentially, it's important to realize that there were also ancient aliens, that humans never were alone, and that there were humanoids before us, which were Atlanteans and Hyperboreans and Lemurians. Hyperboreans, Atlanteans, Lemurians, us. And one more which I forgot, but you can check out Wikipedia about. It's called root races Blavatsky, like 3 keywords: Blavatsky root races. But only Atlanteans were pretty physical. Lemurians were partly physical, and the ones before that, Hyperboreans, and the ones before that were in other dimensions on the planet. So it was gradual grounding. So we are more physical than the previous ones. So the previous races had pretty much open contact. Atlanteans had open contact. Humans had open contact, and only gradually, as we got our culture going on, the aliens receded in the background. So we were bred from the very beginning, and at this point, molecular biologists and scientists become really confused. How is it possible to have ancient aliens operating and human evolution operating? Like, is it that human evolution wasn't real, it was all aliens? And all other animals, we see how they evolve from simple organisms to very complex organisms, and how would the humans be an exception? That's really hard to understand. Right. In 2011 I wrote a book about that, and I published it in 2012. Actually, no, 2012 I started and finished the book. It's still correct, it's still good, and my answer was it happened in both ways. There was natural evolution from primates, from hominids, from earthly predecessors, and there was heavy influence, injections of alien manipulation, alien genetics. So in addition to modern hybridization, there is ancient hybridization, and that complicates the analysis. So we're all hybrids between ancient Earth primates, ancient aliens, and modern injections. So we cannot say that we are like 100% humans from the planet. We are 100% humans from the planet. We should have ancient alien genes, and this injection of alien genetics, infusions of alien genetics, I don't think that it ever stopped. What we understand pretty with much confidence is that every human race was an attempt by one or another alien race to ground themselves on the planet and to create a landing place for themselves. So Egyptians, Asians, Japanese, Russians, Vikings, Indian tribes, Hindu tribes, Muslims. Actually, Muslims are not a race, but some of the Arabic tribes, Assyrian tribes. It's alien rulers come. Sometimes they present themselves as gods. Sometimes they present themselves as like aliens. It doesn't matter. But they do genetic engineering to create a super race which is super smart, super brave, good soldiers, and is manageable. So for Anunnaki it was gold mining. They needed gold for their planet, for their biology. So gold mining operation. I don't think they ever stopped, but they created specifically us as hybrids designed to mine gold. So that's why we have that instinctive desire for gold and instinctive desire to dig. Like there is a lot of digging talents in our genetics, and to work hard. So this alien infusions is can also study. That's also part of the proposal. But what happened in the 50s? Do you remember Eisenhower? What are the years of presidency of Eisenhower? So essentially,
took over for Kennedy, right? Or no? He was post-Kennedy or pre-Kennedy?
Certainly pre-Kennedy, but I don't remember. Oh, certainly pre-Kennedy, but Yeah, we'll Google it. But in the 50s, there was a competition between aliens to make an agreement with American government.
Yeah.
What are the years?
53 to 61. And he was the one that would denied any kind. He denied that there was a mafia. He denied aliens. He denied that they even existed.
Ah,
He was covering for a lot of different things. He was pre-Kennedy.
yep. So here we go. So I believe during his time, aliens competed for to make an agreement, and the good ones didn't promise much, but they promised love and contact and abundance and ascension, while more grounded ones offered technology for weapons in exchange for hybridization program. And this was a mixture of grays and others. Certainly Nordics were there, certainly reptilians were there. So it's Nordic reptilians, Orions, and Zeta Grays. And they won the contract. The contract wasn't respected by the Earth people, so the contract sort of went awry very fast. But they assumed they got the right, so they followed the permission to do active hybridization program since then and to recent times. So it started in the 50s and it was pretty active, and initially it started with the military, specifically military. So it was people in the military which were the initial subjects for abductions and hybridization. So that's the first big wave, and it covered only the America and other English-speaking Australia and UK and maybe New Zealand. So that would be people who were abducted in the 50s, their children were born in the 50s, would be the first wave of the hybrids. And since then, these families are being followed, and it goes in the family, so the whole family is being followed, and more injections, infusions, hybridization continue. So that would be the primary target group. And I think I'm ready to start. And if people can send your samples, if you guys, I invite you to send your DNA samples to 23andMe, then give me the permission to access the raw data. We can try, and hopefully I can raise money.
Now you're looking for volunteers.
Yeah, go ahead. And I would say maybe send me the permission and another $100. Will for a few $100 I can hire a part-time programmer to actually look at your data. I don't promise yet anything, but if it sort of takes off, then hopefully we can accomplish it.
How do people reach out to you?
Right now I didn't create any particular landing pages, but I will create a landing page on hucolo.org, on dnaresonance.org, and on my Facebook you can just contact me, Max Rempel, on Facebook. So these are the key ones.
Okay. So there's a couple questions in the chat if we can ask those. The High Priestess is her name. She says, how are these children different from normal children? Do we see differences in their physical characteristics or more psychic ones?
Cool. Yeah, that's a huge question for me. Where is the background? How do we actually find the ones which are not abducted, who don't have modern alien injections, infusions, hybridizations? Because, ideally, if you submit your sample, try to ask your friends who are no similar genetic background, but who are certainly don't know and give no suspicion that they are hybrids. I need some controls. Finding the controls is much harder than finding, at least in this group, than finding the hybrids. How do you find the ones which have no alien genetic, no modern alien infusions? It's really hard. And when you start looking at any person, you start suspecting that this person is also some sort of a hybrid. Okay, psychic abilities would be, I guess, the key one, and memories. So, in addition to your submission of the data, write your whole story. I will use artificial intelligence to summarize and sort the stories. We'll look in person, and I invite volunteers to look through the stories and sort them. Hopefully we'll get tons of submitted samples, and we'll see, and then we'll try to correlate your story with your DNA. And in an ideal circumstance, if you know that you're you're hybridized with Pleiadians, we'll see one genetic pattern. If you know that you are hybridized with Greys, it would be another. Reptilians, another. Orions, slightly different from Pleiadians, although they're related. Lyrans, Arcturians. Yael, which is somewhat gray but different. Andromedans, and so on. So we will hopefully see the patterns. Now, the question was other traits. Obviously, it's very easy to mess up the genetics, and you can take a standard human without a lot of alien manipulation and just mess up their genetics. They will become crazy. And how do you tell a messed up human from alien hybrid? Good question. It's a great question. How do you actually? Because there are labs which are diagnosing medical abnormalities, and that's like standard tests for if you get pregnant, they take a sample of the placenta and then they test for genetic abnormalities, and very often like few percent, under 5%, but maybe around 1, 2, 3% there are abnormalities. There are trisomies where are three chromosomes instead of 2. There are deletions of chromosomes, duplications, rearrangements, chromosomal rearrangements. And it doesn't have to be alien, it can be just a mess. So for me, the best criterion would be exceptional abilities. If you're really good and successful, say like Elon Musk, Steve Jobs, that kind of successful. Woody Allen. So that kind of successful, then there is a better chance that you're, and if you have like psychic abilities, telekinetic abilities, clairvoyance, it's all psychic abilities, seeing the future, ability to manipulate events, super empathic, and at the same time successful. I think that's the easiest. I think good investors would be like really good candidates, and just super talented people. I think that's what aliens at the moment. I don't think they make reptilians make soldiers. Like reptilians are super healthy. Reptilian hybrids, super healthy. Ability to regenerate at least fingers, like fingertips. I know for sure. And super athletic and really good managers and military officers. So that kind of obvious traits. Yael, shape-shifting not physical but sort of mental shape-shifting is a good Yale quality. High scientific abilities, really good with technology and computers. Pleiadian, I think telepathic abilities and psychic abilities for Pleiadian would be like Aaron Pleiadian, psychic and telepathic, empathic. So, well, as I started like thinking about target populations, like where I would advertise. So the idea was that there is a couple of foundations which actually are funding extraterrestrial research, and I was thinking if they fund that, and another candidate would be History Channel. They do Ancient Aliens. If we do a research with them together under cameras, under their television cameras and interviews, I think that would be super cool. And some of the results can be obtained really fast. So then, if you have funding, where will we advertise for volunteers to donate their data? We don't have to do any experiments. We just have them submit their data, bring their samples, and bring the data back. Then I was thinking that yoga retreats, Burning Man, spirit dance, trance dance retreats, festivals, obviously ufology conferences, C5, which is Close Encounter 5, Stephen Greer's type of events where people come and invite aliens to visit. Psychic fairs.
Mm-hmm.
So this would be like quite obvious.
Yeah. I have another question from the room from, let's see, from Dr. TM. He says the galactic being. Wait a minute. Oh, sorry. 1 second. Wrong question. Matt Wally says, is it thinkable that the ancient humans were the root race of the aliens? It's sort of the thought is that the chickens come home to roost. You see them as the root race?
Good question. There was an exchange between Pleiades, Orion, and Earth for sure, but I think it was before Homo sapiens. Homo sapiens is pretty recent. Atlanteans were here. They went extinct. The last extinction disaster happened about 22,000 years ago. And since then, Homo sapiens gradually recovered after that ecological disaster. And I don't think the alien races are that young, unless there is some sort of time paradox where we come somewhere in the past of alien races and become a root race. That's a possible thing. Like some of Zeta Grays say that we are their ancestors. So Zetas might be our descendants, but most likely from a parallel timeline. I don't think from this timeline. So yes, we are founders for Zetas, unfortunately. This is like one of the creepiest, less friendly races. Although other Greys are fine, but Zetas are a bit rude and untrustworthy. Mm-hmm. But still many of us have incarnations there, so even connection to Zetas is also tolerable. I wouldn't trust them, but we are relatives. So we are certainly ancestors of Zetas, which are coming from the future, but most of other races are much more ancient in this reality. And the earliest humans here are Lyrans, and that happened long time ago, before even Atlanteans. Atlanteans are also a human race, and a different one. It's a quite different race. So Atlanteans survived. They went into the space, and some of them are still around here, and it would be really interesting to find Atlantean genetics here.
So
Do you
how
have
would
more
you,
questions?
okay, yeah, I do have a question. So once you go through everybody's genetic markers or whatever they would be, and you've got this sort of extraneous DNA that's unidentifiable, how will you go about categorizing what DNA belongs to what race?
Yeah, perfect. Thank you for asking. Great question. That's where I would look for correlation between interviews or self autobiographies, essentially autobiographies, and the genetics. If lots of people know that they are from, say, reptilians, have been abducted by reptilians, and their genetics shows that, then here you go. And some other people might have a connection to Yael, and then the genetics shows that. Also, there is that light language thing that we speak a certain language, and if there is a correlation between your language and your genetics and your knowledge about your hybrid and alien ancestry, then that would be the corroborative evidence. That's simple.
Okay.
To give a bit more detail on the sequencing, if you are properly funded and if you find real nice evidence of pieces of genome coming from not parents, from not human parents, then it's worth resequencing it thoroughly. So there are basically two ways. One is a sloppy sequencing called genotype and done by 23andMe, $100, very cheap, but you look only at known variations, the ones which are easier to analyze and which are informative for humans. But then there is a more thorough way, which is for about $2,000, $2,000 if it's done economically. Then you can get the whole genome except the telomeres. For $4,000, you can get the whole genome, including the telomeres. And I think the most of the alien injections and fusions would be in those telomeres and in repetitive regions, which are much harder to analyze, but it's possible. So essentially, if you do like $2,000 or $4,000 type of sequencing, and then if you use a qualified programmer bioinformatician, we can actually look specifically for in detail in the sequence. And that is easy to do, but it costs money. So that to do proper statistics to compare samples, we need like tens of samples of the same type. Like we need, say, if you start with 40 children of reptilian abductees who were abducted by reptilians, we look at their complete genomic sequence, and then we can see corroboration between 40, and then there is proper statistics to actually prove something.
Right.
It's still doable. It's just a bit more expensive. Like,
Have you done your own DNA?
I'm not that good in programming. I just did the basic analysis. I sent it to 23andMe. It was 15 years ago. I got back my human ancestry, and that's about it.
Did you have any like unknown or
Oh, you can tell. You have to really download the raw data and look at that. I didn't do that. No, I didn't go that far. By the way, I think that those companies which provide this genotyping, maybe they are subsidized by secret corporations that want to also study abductees. But I want to do a public project to do that. So
yeah.
So we want to play openly the same game, and those who have those secret corporations that have aliens and alien samples, I'm sure they sequence them.
Mhm.
So now we want to do it in open and actually to reveal to humanity our extraterrestrial connections.
Do you have in your of the people that you've met, especially from the alien abductee group that you had in Rochester at the time, did you have the feeling of that any of the people there were hybrids?
Yes, some I wouldn't guess, but some had again experiences. It's not the looks. The
No.
looks are very normal.
Okay.
It's just the experiences.
Mhm.
Some experiences are super special.
Okay. Have you met it? Because you were mentioning telekinesis. Have you met anybody that is uh, able to do telekinesis?
I think the most famous is Yuri Geller. I would
Yeah.
love to sequence. He's still alive. I would
Yeah.
like to sequence his DNA.
You know, I'll tell you something. My teacher, Caroline Hart, that I've mentioned before, she worked with MUFON. She actually knew Kalina Angel's father, and she was an experiencer even in the 70s. And, but she met Uri Geller and actually did the class with him on the bending of the spoon. And from what I understand about him, he's a very accessible person.
Yep, yep.
So you really probably could reach out to him.
I thought I maybe even communicated to him one way or another in the past. I think there was some connection.
Yeah, because I feel like he's
Yeah, why don't you invite him to Hucolo to be a guest?
maybe I should reach out to him. That'd be awesome. But I know like I mean he just pops up in some very weird places with
Uh huh.
people that you wouldn't expect to see him. And I just always had the feeling, especially based on Caroline's comments, that he was just a person that you could, he's not someone that you can't get in touch with, or you have to go through tons of hoops to get to him. So you might want to look at him and see.
Yeah, if anybody can contact Yuri Geller and invite him to submit his 23andMe raw data, that would be super cool.
We
Or
need to set up a
just
form for you, Max, or have Slava make a form where they can upload it directly on the website.
yeah, the idea to make it a public project was born in my mind just tonight. So
Okay.
it would take me like a few days to actually create some sort of representation. I will make a new website, and it will be something like extraterrestrial genetics research project website,
Okay.
and
Ruth,
a fundraiser possibly.
I'm so sorry to
A
interrupt.
fundraiser, like public fundraiser.
Ruth has a question. She
Yep.
says, many starseeds are usually emotionally destroyed before they're adults. So they
Yep.
can still have the markers, but not fit in the characteristics of being successful. What is your view on this?
I would accept any samples, but if I had a choice, I would start with successful ones just because, just for simple, it's not a very kind logic, but to be more efficient, we need to separate, distinguish genetic disease among humans from genetic manipulation from aliens, from alien hybridization. We know that it's easy to mess up genetics in humans, plants, especially with modern bad ecology. It's very easy to get messed up. And some of the psychic abilities can arise not from alien hybridization, but from just breakage in some of the mechanisms in the genetics. So at the moment, if you submit the data, I think it wouldn't hurt to analyze as much as possible. But I would look at the interviews and see, and then correlate things, and then correlate. So essentially, we can look at more data and then correlate things like this is successful, this is unsuccessful, this is it's studying genetics in general, and especially studying races, is is uh, is is looking at races. Essentially, we are studying. It's a racial research. You cannot avoid that. We are studying human and alien races. It's nationalistic. So from here, I think the best step is to highlight the importance of being kind to everyone and giving rights to everyone, and preventing racial discrimination and injustice. Because once the alien markers are discovered, we will face in one way or another racial discrimination. Now it will be not Jews and Gypsies or some other, or African Americans that will be racially discriminated. It will be alien abductees that might be racially discriminated, because we essentially implants in the human society. So the pure humans and hybrids. And pure humans essentially ancient alien hybrids versus modern alien hybrids. And I think some secret corporations already do that sort of discrimination. It's not complete discrimination, but if you have alien genes, you are more likely to be on their side rather than on Earth's side, if there is a conflict. So I think that awareness of the rights of hybrids should be discussed, and the society should develop some sort of anti-discrimination culture for alien hybrids.
Well, what would be the distinction between, I mean, if you can't see it walking down the street?
No, you can.
Then how would they be identified other than if they were sharing their DNA?
Yeah, I'm a conspiracy believer. Then I think everybody's profile is in some sort of databases, and after we submit our samples, even blood samples, to the system,
right,
they can profile us. So I think the system already knows everything. They know about our alien genetics more than we do. So I think the culture of non-discrimination is important, especially after the contact. That will become much more transparent, and there will be families of humans and aliens, and there will be hybrids. And again, the question of rights of aliens and rights of hybrids will become much more obvious.
Do you find that or do you expect, I guess, because you'll be observing this research, do you expect that there's this particular race of people that has more hybrids than others? Or do you expect that it's probably equally distributed across humanity?
Yeah, I think English-speaking governments, US, England, UK, Australia, New Zealand, collectively did one agreement with one type of aliens, and the other part of the world, like China and Russia, did agreement with other types of aliens. Like, if you look at Russian abductee reports, they meet different types of aliens. So for me, it is an indication that the Russian hybridization program was with a different type of aliens, and Chinese was with a different type of aliens.
Since you are Russian, what are the names of the aliens that are, say, a race that maybe we wouldn't know about in the English-speaking world? Because there's channels everywhere across every nation.
I think in Russia there is more reptilians and less gray hybridizations, and more reptilian abductions, fewer gray abductions. Okay. There are still like at least one gray abduction report which I noticed, but I think much fewer gray abductions.
Is there the focus on hybrid children in Russia that there is in the West?
No. In Russia, the idea of abductions is much less known.
Mm-hmm.
But first, Russian ufology is strongly polluted with international, especially American. It's huge effort of translating all the videos. So in Russia, you have all the American, plus you have native Russian reports, and the culture of television there is very different.
Right.
People there are actually television people there are proud of making things up. So if you cannot trust media here, there you cannot trust even more. It's a lot of fantasy, but among that fantasy there is hidden like gems where people are really deeply in the topic, and since there is so much noise there, they're much safer there. So there is a lot of deep research which it's hard to see here, and some of that is very dark. Somehow their secret services are much more into esoteric sciences. So that when things leak out from there, it's really dark but very profoundly esoteric. So the esoteric culture there is darker and deeper. Here it's lighter and shallower.
Right. But can you give a little example of what you would say by darker and deeper?
They use witches, shamans, and extra sensory people, psychics for business, politics, warfight, Spanish, military intelligence, and personal lives all the time. It's just kind of an industry.
And that's within the government. The government's doing.
Yeah, it's an industry, unfortunately.
I mean, the only thing that we know about like the psychic use of the government is the government's experimentation with remote viewing back in the, I guess it was 70s or 80s.
Much more hidden here, yeah.
So, but
there it's like leaks out. It's pretty routine now.
But in Eastern Europe, don't you think like the idea of witches and gypsies and those people are much more accepted in the culture? I mean, that's just a very much of a major portion of the culture that is doing those kind of occult practices.
Yes and no. It's different. I think my belief. It's my scientific conclusion from observations. It's the nature of the energies of the planet is different there. I think there is so much movement during the wars there. There were like several wars which moved people around. So genetics changed a lot. Culture changed dramatically during the wars and revolutions. But the practices are attached to the planet, to the places. So I think there is something in the ground which is making that happen, makes the structures reconstruct, even if the politicians change, culture changes, people change, but the structures stay in place, stay put to the cities and places. So in combination to, in addition to dark practices, there are very, very enlightened practices as well. So it's a very interesting place. So and I think now there is a revival for some reason. Now Russia, I learn, is orients itself from the west to China to the east. And during that transition, there is a lot of freedom that just popped up inside the country. Terror plus freedom, they kind of coincide weirdly. But so there is everything is sort of much freer there at the moment.
Okay. Do you feel like it's getting more restrictive here in the US versus what's going on there? Or is it just a different approach?
I would say there is a culture of being free and proud, which is great here. And at the same time, there is a culture of staying how they say, of keeping the things proper. keeping things proper. In California and the East Coast, there's the idea of propriety. Things should be proper. You can do that, but you cannot do that. You can claim the freedom, but you actually cannot violate freedoms of others. Private property is respected. So there is a complete nonsense when there is a lot of private property unused, but it's respected. So, and people believe that their government is actually elected by them, which is laughable. And people believe that their government is actually their government and actually is supposed to protect and care about their interests, which is not the case. So it's weird. In the East, they know the government is evil and they sort of don't trust it. Here, somehow the majority trust their government, even though it's in a crisis. I think there is like a crisis here, hidden crisis, or sometimes open crisis. So it's different. But America is still the bigger influencer in the world, and the culture, American culture, is now spread through mass media and social networks throughout the world. So there is a huge imprint of that culture. American music is certainly dominating the world. So it's a weird transformation, but I think it will change really fast. Like with AI, it will change super fast. We are at the time of quick change. It's already kind of accelerating. The AI will change everything within months and years. It's a big transition.
Jim has a question, but let me take Ruth's first. Ruth, if you can type Jim's question, it would be great if you could.
Hey, Jim! Is Jim physically watching us?
Yeah, Jim's listening and watching with Blair, and I guess Ruth is there as well with him.
Yay!
So
Ruth,
maybe
hey!
type this question, or you all can come in the room and be social.
They could not get in with the link.
What?
So maybe
I see.
I even resent it. I even resent the link.
send it to, if you want to send it to Jim, he can maybe try, but I tried sending him the link twice, and so I couldn't. He couldn't.
No, the original email is messed up. You have to send the link by itself separately.
I did resend the mail, Jim said. I mean, because Max asked me to resend it. But if that happens and you know it, please let me know so that I can send it, because I had no idea.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sending it now. Wait.
Try like paste special only text, because there is some weird alien infusion in the email which prevents link from opening.
Okay, I'm just now. I mean, the other thing is that if you have any other link from any other webinar, you know that it would work as well. Let me see. Let me just send this to Jim. Jim at, what is it? Jim at Reiki? No. What is
Jim Reiki at Gmail.
Jim Reiki at, I know that, at Gmail. Okay. Just sending that now. Okay. All right. It's sent. So let me, while they're getting that sorted, let me ask Ruth's question that was here. Oh, that's from Blair. Okay. Ruth says, I see Jim's question. It's under Ruth's question. All right. The question of rights of hybrids came up in the movie X-Men. How many of those movies do you think can really be true? Have you ever heard of any X-Men?
Yeah, here I'm a bit vague. I didn't watch it closely. I kind of browsed it and I forgot. Remind me what it is about.
It's a group of, they're called, I guess, mutants, but they all have special abilities and they have all kinds of abilities, whether it's super strength or speed or becoming invisible or
got it.
some kind of thing. And they are, because they're mutants, they were outcasts in society, but then they turn around and they're constantly saving the world and battling evil in the movie. But there was a point where they wanted to have rights because they didn't have rights because they weren't considered human or fully human.
Sounds pretty realistic.
Okay.
Yeah, I know in hybrids and special people with special abilities work in high positions in secret corporations,
Mm-hmm.
and aliens also are having offices in the headquarters of corporations, and sometime on some place on top or in the basement in the underground bases. The aliens are still participating in human affairs in some secret corporations.
Okay. Uh, Jim's question, though, I hope he's coming in the room now, is would measuring brain waves be able to detect alien?
Yeah, yeah. I didn't want to
Alien.
sound too paranoid. Yeah, but I'm pretty sure that the vibrational component is huge in what aliens do. So yes, alien hybrids have different vibrations, and I know about myself that I spook people, especially when I'm in a special state. I'm even spook dogs, so I have to adjust my vibrations to make dogs less spooked and people less spooked. Yeah, it's some people spook and some people the other way around. They can use their talents, like for example for sales.
Mm.
Yeah, like some people have that magic. Yeah, among candidates to research, I'm really interested in very successful salespeople who work on the floor and sell very successfully because they basically control minds. They make. I was in the presence of such salespeople. Everybody was like, you never want to buy the thing, but they do something to you that you buy it. Yeah, and it's completely irrational, but it's a great talent. It's mind control essentially.
Yeah, it's a talent and for sure. And there's certain people that are gifted in that. It makes me, if you think about it, there's this guy that I know that lives at my ashram, and he is Australian. He's very tall. He's a very nice looking man, but his superpower is that he can de-escalate any situation.
Uh huh.
Any situation. It doesn't matter. It can be a guy who is frustrated because he's not getting to park his car quickly enough, or it can be two people who are in disagreement about something, or it can be one person telling another person what to do that's in conflict with what the other person wants. And he just has this way of going, hey, guys. And he just I swear, within like 25 seconds,
Uh huh.
everyone just calms down and he gets everyone to agree. And then everyone just kind of goes on their merry way. But it's significant.
Yep. Yep.
Significant.
Yeah.
And
Can you get his sample?
I'll talk to him when I get back but I mean, it's for me, it's so like if I need anything, uh done, or I need like someone being difficult, I mean, even just like asking for, can I get a key to this room? And the person be like, can you get it after lunch? Or can you get it tomorrow? And he'll just be like, hey, can't we get it today? It's just as easy. It's just right there. And the person will not like even resist. They'll just give it to him. I noticed it, and it's like now if I need anything that I know I'm going to get resistance on, I just ask him, can you do this? And then he always is able to manage it in like record time as well. Like
Excellent.
within 20 seconds. And I think that's a talent.
Absolutely. Yep. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Oh, so guess who's here? Wait, let me put him
Yay, Jim, finally we got ya.
There he is. Okay.
Turn on your microphone.
In the meantime, I'm going to resend that email.
Hello.
Yay.
Good to see you, Max.
Nice to be in one webinar after a while.
Yes, that's good. So good to see you, and I'm glad I'm here. So
Do you have any comments? Did did you learn more about? Did you hear what I was talking about?
Yes, I was in the YouTube for quite a while.
Great. Uh-huh.
I couldn't get on, but now she sent me the link, and that one worked, so it was good.
Do you have any questions or comments?
Well, I did have a question. I think she asked it already
Okay.
about would it make, I mean, doing brainwave scans would help define whether someone was human or not human.
Yeah.
And I
Even
think,
even without the scans just from outside, there are ways to measure just the waves outside of the body.
yes, and was thinking that just by doing that, you could probably tell a hybrid or an alien from a regular human being from the brain wave scans. So,
Yep.
What would be the distinguishing factors of that?
You need to calibrate the system. You need like some really good alien hybrids, and then you have to calibrate. Like I know, yeah. Wendy is one of those. I felt her energy when I did Reiki. I forgot the last name. High vibrations, I think.
With,
Yeah, she talks on Hucolo once in a while.
she does the light language.
Yeah.
Okay.
This Wendy is like super. That has that interesting vibration, like super strong. I printed out the contacts. DNA, hucolo.org, dnaresonance.org, and my email. I'll print in a minute, but you got it, right? So the information will be here, hucolo.org, dnaresonance.org. Jim, I will invite you to channel if you like in a few minutes. I just wanted to discuss like couple more topics. One of them is alien skulls. So Lloyd, okay, I'm blanking on the name. Someone Lloyd had a skull which was called Starchild. Lloyd skull. Lloyd Pye. He had a Starchild skull, which he's like, Lloyd Pye is an anthropologist, so he knows for sure how human skulls look, and this Starchild was clearly non-human, not even closely related to human. So he wanted to sequence it, and he did a bit of sequencing, but it was in old days and done in a very small scale, like very few markers. So the skull is still around. There is a foundation that's sort of in custody of which that skull is placed. So I would, and for DNA analysis, it takes about 1 gram of DNA, which is essentially like, what's 1 gram? Five little peas, 5 little peas, or
A teaspoon is 5 grams. Like if you think of sugar, teaspoon's 5 grams.
yeah. So 1/5 of the teaspoon. That's exactly, yep. So 1 gram of the bone will give me both. Half of the gram will go to sequencing, and half of the gram will go to carbon dating. So I need to know the age. So what we know from archaeology and anthropology research, and from sequencing of ancient skulls, official sequencing, that all our predecessors were extinguished by Homo sapiens, by us, about 30,000 years ago. So after 30,000 years ago, there's not supposed to be any unusual human skulls except the monkeys. Monkeys and us were the only primates that were left. Even Neanderthals were extinguished by us. We kind of ate everyone or killed everyone. So if the skull is younger but is non-human, it's already a good indication that it's an alien one or abnormal. But abnormal should still have human genetics. If it's an abnormal skull with big brain and it has non-human markers, then it's a great evidence. So sequencing sequencing the skulls is about $1,000 per skull, and carbon dating is about $500 per sample. So to get a sample, someone just needs to drill, collect the dust cleanly, and send to analysis. So it's done commercially. So it's I can just mail things and get the data and then analyze it. So I would be interested in collecting lots of different abnormal skulls, do the carbon dating, and if they're ideally very recent, and if they're non-human, that would be indication that these are either aliens or descendants of aliens which still had abnormal skulls. And Atlanteans, which some of which are still around, are thought to have elongated skulls, like elongated skulls. So these are also of interest. And here is my email, maxrempel.com. So if you like to contact me, send money, or send your data, that would be great. Another topic I wanted to mention, that submitting your samples to 23andMe is very convenient. You basically fill an online form, wait in a few days you will get in the mail a kit which is essentially a small brush, which is smaller than a toothbrush, but it's just a brush, nothing special. You brush your cheek from inside thoroughly, like spend a minute like brushing the cheek from inside, and then you put it in some sort of provided solution, close the cup, and put in a mail, send it out. You can even pretend to be anonymous and give some fake name there, and create some special email which is not revealing your identity, and then you will get the data back, and you can send this data to me. I didn't do that yet. I did it once, actually. I did it once for my relative. So it's a bit involved. You have to like really go inside the system and 23andMe and request the raw data and then share it with me. But it's doable.
So there's another question in the chat. Jim, did you have any other questions or comments while I'm looking at that? Okay.
No, I'm good. Thank
Jim,
you.
it's a question I do have for you, but have you had, I know you've been channeling our ET friends, but are you a contactee at all as well or not?
No, not as far as I know, but I remember that as a youth, I was sort of blank. I didn't have any thoughts for myself. Everything was induced, sort of. So I felt like I was very different as a child, but I don't remember ever being taken anywhere or anything like that.
Okay. Christine was asking, what about primitive tribes and the shape of their bones and skulls?
Yes, terrific question. I think that would be super interesting to study, and some of the data is already available. I didn't mention that, but there is tons of data which is public and available, and the main effort would be bioinformatics. So I would need to hire bioinformaticians and look at the existing data. Essentially, just by looking at different tribes and races, we can discover a lot. For example, there is a Dogon tribe in Africa which believes that they come from Arcturus. They have that ancient tradition and some more cultural indications of the connection with Arcturians. So it would be super interesting to look at their genetics and say compare their genetics to the volunteers which are known that they are connected to Arcturian race and also which speak Arcturian light language. That would be super cool to see that commonality. So we need a corroboration between multiple stories.
Yeah.
Native Australians, we believe, have more of Lemurian genetics, which is before two root races before us. So it's us, Homo sapiens, Atlanteans, and before Atlanteans were Lemurians, and native Australians would be Lemurians. So super cool to look at that. Any more questions? I can continue.
Please continue.
So essentially, I wanted to say that, I'm trying to propose that to people. One group of people is alien abductees, experiencers, and believers. So for you, I have essentially the story that genetics is cheap, reliable, perfect way to analyze the data. And the other group is ufologists, which are focused on actual observations and reports of observations of things in the sky, and that might not be as aware of the alien hybridization program. And the third group is molecular biologists, which know how to analyze the DNA, but might not have a deep understanding of the alien hybridization program, abductions, and ufology. So these are three distinct groups having very different cultures. So I guess I will speak a bit about the alien hybridization program. So you guys know it really well, but maybe for those who are new to it, it's not one program. The aliens are not a uniform entity. It's many different alien civilizations, many different alien races. Some of them are already genetically related to us. Maybe they contributed in the past, maybe they contributed in the present, in the recent past. Pretty much every one of them, with a very few exceptions, run alien hybridization programs. So there are not one program, multiple programs. What is the goal of the alien hybridization programs? Multiple goals. Like goal number one, somehow we are children of this planet, and this planet is special. It has special energies, and it makes us healthier and energetically interesting. We have interesting passion, karma, passions. Maybe are more passionate, more emotional, more energized. So lots of alien races, they don't have that, and they would love to play with this energy. So they create hybrids which are as smart as they are, as telepathic as they are, but now they get this life energy from Earth. So, and then they create hybrids and create new civilizations based on this hybridization. And that, in part, is what the Zetas do. The Zetas hybridize, genetically modify themselves to the extent of collapsing of their collective biofield. So they're sick, genetically engineered race, and they needed something healthy to fix their genetics, and that's why they hybridize themselves to us and suck energy from our energy source. So they sort of benefit from hybridizing, and but we get something from their experience. So we exchange essentially. The second goal of hybridization program is to be entitled to live here. Essentially, many of the aliens, they don't have bodies to live here, but the world is super interesting. So they create the bodies which can live here, and these are hybrid bodies, and then they live here. Sometimes they can just sort of put themselves in the body and be here in the hybrid body, or sometimes they can wait for incarnation and incarnate in the body here. But their souls are more compatible with hybrid bodies rather than with Earth bodies. So essentially they create, through hybridization, they create vehicles for incarnation on the planet. And the third goal is essentially those who are related to us will have the priority when it comes to mixing together. So essentially, when a planet opens itself, when our civilization opens itself to the galaxy, first will come those who look like us, who are related to us, who have children here. So those who have children here and who are related to us, the hybrids, will be the first ones to come. So the hybridization program has basically one of the goals is to come here. And obviously the next one is just to have fun and play and create new civilizations. There is a lot of aliens who are have just fun creating new civilizations. It's just fun to do it. And hybrid civilizations like Sasani, Shakani, Yael are the most common ones. We are friends with them. They're super interesting. Any comments, questions?
I don't have a comment or question at the moment. Let me see.
All right. I will continue then. Go ahead.
Wait, there's one question from Ruth, or she made a comment, but maybe it's a comment question. She said, what about them selling DNA and making lots of money? Is that
Good
not
question.
Trading? Yeah.
Our DNA is published. Its human genome is known for published online for since 2000. So it's not something which is a secret. They can synthesize it in very easily. So it's the sequence itself is not a secret, and it wasn't a secret to them ever. So they were always present. They always knew the DNA sequence by itself. But there is something else. Basically, just by synthesizing is not enough. So the easiest way to hybridize with us is to create in the tube, create a hybrid egg cell and then implant in a mother's body on the planet here. They abduct the mother, impregnate, put it back. Sometimes the child is born here and lives here. Sometimes it's a sort of incomplete pregnancy, and then the embryo disappears, and then it kind of just take it out and grow outside, and then they create a hybrid which lives outside of the planet. In terms of selling, I don't know. They just sometimes they abduct people. Just it's a dark topic, but there is a slave labor. Humans are enslaved and sold to the galaxy, so they don't even have to hybridize. They just take humans. It's just the rogue aliens, and actually this is it's called runaway civilization. It's humans, largely humans, a secret corporation. I call it a secret corporation, but it's in underground bases and in bases and on Mars, Moon, and actually not sure about Moon, on Mars and other moons in the solar system. It's some sort of a secret corporation which manufactures goods and trades with the galaxy, and they have both slave labor and just hired labor. They hire humans from the planet to work in their underground facilities here and on the moons in the solar system. And they have flying saucers and portals. So it's going on for a while, since the 60s.
Okay. There's another question.
Well, wait, before we close the topic, it's not a super evil corporation. I think it's being transformed, and it's kind of becomes lighter because it's under pressure to be compliant with the galaxy standards. So I think our economy is coupled to the economy of this secret corporation. So I wouldn't even think in one of the scenarios, they become much more open and become part of our civilization. They don't have to be completely disconnected. Go ahead.
Okay. There was a question from High Priestess. She was saying, how is sequencing DNA different from paying a channeler to access your DNA origins?
Yeah. One is purely mystical, metaphysical, astral, and another one is very physical. Since the whole reality is pretty much a matrix, an illusion, it's just different levels of illusion. But physical illusion is much more physical, much more substantial, much more reproducible. The astral illusion is less reproducible. It's harder to get a hold of it. But once your sequence is sort of sequenced, if you send it again, you can play with it. You can print it out. It doesn't change as much. It's much more reproducible, stable. But both are, of course, since everything is illusion, it's all just different reproducibility of the illusion. Jim wanted to say something.
Yeah, go ahead, Jim.
Yes, I have a question.
Yay!
I heard that they take DNA from humans to make serum to help other failing species because they have evolved out of certain physical aspects of their being, and so our DNA helps them recover their DNA, and they take our DNA to use to make serum to help these other species. So is that true?
Yeah, I heard about that too. Yeah. Just to explain the biology, one thing is to hybridize, and another thing is just to do it's called some sort of fermentation reactors, some sort of technological culture, cell culture, tissue culture, which would create some serum and then use the serum without the DNA. So you purify. It would be a solution of nutrients and some sort of vibrations, but it doesn't involve people. It involves just some sort of artificial cell culture to create this biological drug that can be taken by aliens or humans. So it's biotechnology versus hybridization, life versus biotechnological in vitro manipulation. Both are possible.
Okay, all right.
I will do one more. I will discuss one more thing about the questions from mainstream molecular biologists. Basically, that's a big topic. Actually, it's really hard to squeeze it into a short form, but I will condense it. So essentially, when you start talking to a conventional molecular biologists, they get uncomfortable with a lot of questions. First, they always believe that in a Darwinian evolution, since the Darwin, which is end of 19th century, the science and the whole Western world believes that we evolved from primates, and it's really hard for them to see how the aliens plug into the system and into the picture. So then we have to explain that there was ancient alien infusions, hybridizations, and modern alien hybridizations. The second problem for the molecular biologists is that their thinking is very physical. They are in the genome. Their 99.9% of their attention is focused on protein coding genes, which is a small part of the genome, 1/20th of the genome. 5% of the genome is actually coding for the protein sequences. So that's what they study. And the mutations they pay attention to are in the protein coding sequences. So they think protein mutations, which is completely different topic. I'm talking about non-coding mutations between protein genes, like in 95% of the genome, which is referred to as junk DNA. That's where the whole story about hybridization happens. And out of this 95%, over half of that, 55% of the genome is repetitive. Essentially, what is repetitive sequence? Like if you have a song, there is a verse and then there is a chorus which repeats over and over and over. So what is the chorus example? Jim, give me an example of the chorus text. Karen. Oh, mantras, Indian mantras. Hare Krishna is a repetitive pattern. Right. So the genome contains 55% of repetitive patterns, something like Hare Krishna, just in 4 letters, A, G, C, T. So this is not studied by mainstream science for number of ridiculous reasons, but basically it's pretty much unfundable research. It's 55% of the genome repetitive. The publications about that are less than 0.1%. It's laughable how little it is studied. That is where the alien infusions would take place. And these infusions wouldn't be the single mutation. It would be massive small substitutions and insertions in repetitive part of the genome. It's where nobody is looking. So for studying those, you have to use full genome sequencing, the one which is for $2,000 per sample, but it's quite accessible. We can sequence 4 genomes per day on an instrument, so it's very easy, 4 samples for humans per day. And it requires special bioinformatics software, so you need better quality bioinformaticians who specially pay attention to repetitive regions and look right there. For the sequencing of the skulls, again, there is a pretty nice biology genetics which studies migrations of populations. So like Vikings came to Russia, and then Aryans came to India and settled there. So all of these migrations, or northern people from Russia came to America, became native Indians, and they're related to, say, Finnish people, and then they're related to Japanese, maybe, but certainly to Hungarians. So this kind of unexpected, I would say, unexpected migrations can be traced genetically. But they are always assuming that the evolution of humans was natural. So when there are missing links or unexpected jumps of the genetics from one continent to another, good scientists publish that and say we don't know what it is, but typically scientists just hide that. I'm jumping, but it's the same topic. I did a lot of genotyping analysis for humans. We studied families. It was schizophrenia families and drug addiction pairs, sibling pairs, and nicotine addiction and other families. So, and there 99% you can see Mendelian inheritance. One parent, another parent, 50%, they mix together. One parent gives one chromosome, another parent gives one chromosome. And sometimes we see that things did match. The children are not from that parent. And we say, yep, it's maybe the father is not right. But when it's the children are not from that mother, all 5 children are not from that mother. The related 5 children are siblings, but not from that mother. What does it mean? Which kind of shrug shoulders and not publish that. And that happens all the time. Like 1% of anomalies in genetics are there. Nobody can make sense of that because it doesn't fit the conventional wisdom of Mendelian inheritance that children are children of their parents, something like that.
And there's no option. There's no like third option, like, which is the option you're proposing.
Right. Yep. So there is a lot of public data for that, and you have to have the hypothesis of ancient aliens hybridizing and making races, and there is a hypothesis of modern alien hybridization program, which is related to English-speaking nations and the Zeta Grace and to military, especially military in the 50s. So once you kind of mix that together, and also you have to pay attention. It should be in non-coding 95% and specifically in repetitive 55% of the genome. You have to pay attention. And among the repetitive regions, there are two repeats, like Hare Krishna, Hare Rama repeats. One is ALU, it's called ALU, ALU repeat, which is super abundant, 10% of the genome, and line repeat, which is super abundant, I think it's 14% of the genome. So pay attention to that. We should pay attention to that and look specifically there. It requires special sequencing, special software, but it's all available. It just requires, it's more expensive, requires more labor, but that's where the answer is. So Jim, I don't know if you heard it, but the idea is to offer that project to History Channel, Ancient Alien Channel, and help to get samples of bone from alien skulls or unusual skulls, elongated skulls, and have them visit our labs and talk to bioinformaticians and observe how we analyze the DNA and look at the sequences and build graphs.
That would be great. I think it would be amazing. So,
all right, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
We are at the end of the second hour, so if you like to do your contribution, that would be super cool.
Oh no, this is your show, not mine.
I'm done. Essentially, I covered. Okay, one more topic, and then I will give it to you if you like to bring anyone. That would be super cool.
Maybe do a blessing as well.
Yeah, and bless. So, last topic is also cool. It's part of my proposal. It's all published already. Like yesterday, I published it in Facebook and x.com, Twitter, and few research places. So essentially, the idea is that possibly aliens created not only us, but our domesticated species. Obviously, it's possible that we, just through selection, created dogs from wolves, cats from wild cats, chickens from I don't know what, from wild chickens. But it is possible that horses and donkeys from wild horses and wild donkeys, and wheat from wild wheat. But it's possible that we got some alien help in that. And possibly when alien genetic engineers do their work, they might insert their signatures. If I were a genetic engineer and had an opportunity, I would put like Max Rempel contributed to that part of the project. So that would remain in the descendants of the new species. So one of the things is to look at the sequences of the domesticated species. There is only a few of them. Basically, there are 10 major and 40 minor species, but donkeys, horses, chickens, cats, dogs, and see if maybe we can find some signatures of alien manipulation in those species. And that's about the major part, and I give the microphone to Jim. If you want to bring anyone, that would be super cool. Hey Jim, your camera and microphone are off. Hey Jim, we lost you. Yay!
I'm here.
Yep.
Do you want me to do a final blessing?
I would like some maybe Takur or Disdu or
okay.
What's his name? Just like
Pentium.
Lakesh, Grindel, and Pentium, I think, are most qualified on that topic.
Okay, who do you want me to call? I can't call them all.
Whoever is Takur, Grindel, Pentium, Disdu, Lakesh, whoever.
Grindel's not good at blessings, so he's...
No. I mean, the comment on the program. Maybe they have something to comment.
Oh, maybe they do. I don't know.
And then maybe they can combine it with a blessing. That would be fantastic.
Okay, yeah. I'll bring whoever is waiting. Greetings, I'm Takur. Greetings, Max.
Hey, Takur, long time no here.
It was good to listen to you today. Many of your facts and figures are very, very correct, and we have even more for you coming and putting into your head as a download at some point. But your head is full of good information.
Thank you.
You are welcome.
Do you have any comments?
Yes, I would like to say that I enjoyed the program and I enjoyed the questions. The questions were highly intelligent and very observant. So I like that a lot. And so I was glad that you were able to answer them clearly. Thank you. What would you have me do now? I think that you are an amazing speaker.
Thank you. One of the topics is, do you guys support that project? Do you have like, we will provide background support? Can you do any funding support?
We do not do that. We cannot interfere with your society in that way. We do help with things that are not human, meaning earthquakes, volcanoes, axis, weather, things of that nature. But if it's human-made or if it's part of humanity, we're not allowed to interfere. So therefore, that is something that we're not allowed to do, but wish we could. There are so many things we could improve. However, it is not our planet and it is not our place to butt in.
One question is like, sort of, when I explained the reasons for alien hybridization programs, I named pretty much all the reasons were pretty selfish on the side of aliens.
Correct.
But you might want to correct, maybe there are other reasons which I didn't name.
Well, the thing is, there are agendas by all different species for the hybridization programs. First of all, you are right. They want to build a different kind of society out here to help the universe. Second of all, they want to help those that are hurting in the universe by giving them serums and injections that might help them to get better and not be as sickly. Third, they would like yes, there is a selfishness about this because we are using humans. We are asking permission to use humans to give them, for them to give us their DNA so that we can use it for selfish reasons. Yes, that's true. We are funding our missions to the Earth by these requests. And so it is that way that it is. We are not doing it to be negative or wrong or bad, but we are doing it to just support ourselves while we are working to help the Earth.
Is there other altruistic reasons for alien hybridization programs?
Yes. They seem to be smarter. They seem to have greater health and do not suffer health issues the same way. They seem to progress faster than any other species would progress naturally. So in that sense, the hybridization program is bringing a whole new understanding of intellect and diversity to the universe.
Do you have any suggestions on questionnaire? Where do we look for hybrids and what do we ask them to classify the hybrids to predict which races do they belong to? Like, for example, if we focus on Lyran hybrids, what questions should we ask them to recognize that they are Lyran?
You would ask them to recognize their stature. Their Lyrans are very big in size. They are very more feline beings like myself. They are more adjusted to peace and tranquility and things of this nature throughout the universe very well. They can preserve their selves very well and have taken off into different parts of the galaxy to preserve their life as
I'm sorry, I have to interrupt you. I'm talking about humans. If the humans are Lyran hybrids,
Oh,
What should they answer about themselves here?
they would be tall. They would probably be more red-haired or dark brown-haired. They would be very intelligent. They would have more of a leaning toward positivity and compassion. They would be also more leaning toward engineering and mathematics.
Thank you. Would they be cat lovers?
Of course they would.
So there should be a question like your love for cats, love for dogs, love for horses, and then kind of give ratings if you like
We love
100% cat and 1% dog, something like that.
No, we love all animals, but we are fond of cats. We can speak to cats. Our language is a language of the feline, and we can talk to the orange colored cats. Usually, they're the ones that have the higher intellect and are able to respond to us, and we see their reactions. Now, not that is not 100% true of all cats, but we do some black and white cats and some black cats are responsive as well. Calicos also, but the orange cats, for the most part, are the most responsive. When it comes to dogs and ponies and things of this nature, yes, we are interactive. We do not understand their language or understand their thought processes, but we do like them as pets on your planet as well as you do.
When you do alien infusions, are you targeting repetitive regions of the genome?
We are targeting the repetitive genome areas of the genomes, yes, because that is where an area that can be affected most easily.
What do you actually add the sequence to the to the genome? Like how many percent do you add?
Well, it depends on the infusion and on the person. Not everyone can handle a full infusion of 5 or 6% of an alien DNA. It goes directly into the junk DNA, as you call it, but it's really not junk. It is just the DNA that we can use to move our DNA into in a more positive way because it is not always as organized. And then we can make it more organized as we move through the system.
Yeah, one of my hypotheses is that alien infusions, modern alien infusions, fix the violations of fractality and periodicity in DNA. So you basically make it more harmonious.
Correct. We try to bring the higher aspects of the species into the humans. We do not bring lower aspects of the species into any infusions. This would not be a very positive thing to do, and we are not here to be negative or not here to interfere with the earth in a negative way.
Thank you. So I was struggling to characterize what questions to ask to recognize Pleiadian hybrids, especially Aaron Pleiadian hybrids among
Aaron Pleiadian
humans.
hybrids are easy to recognize. They're more docile. They are not as many leaders in the Aaron Pleiadian societies are as there are in maybe the Lyran society. They're sometimes less formidable when it comes to management or things of that nature, but they're very friendly, kind, humane, and compassionate, forgiving. They have these really wonderful characteristics, but they cannot do not like confrontation. They do not like to come up against anyone. At least most of them don't. There are some that still do. There are those that are from the royal families that have to come up against those and will do so. But for the most part, the Aarons are very kind and docile.
It looks like my genes.
Yes.
Okay. How about Yael?
The Yael, very decisive. They make a lot of decisions, and sometimes because of that, they are shunned because they make decisions others do not like. They make them in favor of the Uyil, and so sometimes they are uh, not liked for that reason. But they are intelligent, and they do have many different technologies of healing that are very valuable, and they bring those to the table all the time. And they're just a little bit sometimes overwhelming with their ideas and energies. So they can be seemingly curt or unkind, but they are not trying to be. They're just direct.
Cool. So, are there any special programs directed to Ashkenazi Jews? Hybridization.
There are, but it is not well known. The thing is, they are looking at these particular very pure species. It's a more pure species than some of the others. Many of the other species are very blended. The Jewish, Hasidic Jews and the others are not as blended, and their DNA is much more pure. And so, being that that is the case, it is uh, a wonderful program that they have showing how pure the hybridization process can be with them. Now, they need permission from them to get their DNA, of course, and sometimes that is difficult because the Hasidic Jews and the other uh, Jewish populations do not want to give their DNA as easily, or not usually, but some of them are willing. So we are working, not us particularly, but we as a galaxy are working with them to expand their originality, their intelligence, and their way of maneuvering. They are very clever maneuverers.
How do we recognize hybrids among Ashkenazi Jews, and what properties we would expect from these hybrids?
The the Jews that we find that are hybridized already are very clever, strategic. They know exactly how to get what they want, and they move forward in a very confident manner and a very pure manner. It's not convoluted at all. They do what they are saying they are going to do. They move forward. They are direct and very intelligent about the way they interact. They are persuasive, manipulative, but only in the ways that are very positive in many ways. They are manipulative though, and that can be something that can be others look down on them for, but they are manipulating the situation so they can get what they need to do to make things better.
What races would be hybridized into Ashkenazi? Alien races.
But alien races,
Yeah.
Pleiadian would definitely work. Lyran would definitely work. Orion would definitely work. Arcturian is and Fendorian are questionable. They do not work as well because there's a spiritual difference. The way they spiritually think is very different, and sometimes that can cause a mental break if we used Arcturian or Fendorian.
Got it. How do we recognize Arcturian hybrids in a questionnaire? Here.
How do we?
If we ask people, abductees, to donate their DNA and submit their self autobiography, how would we recognize Arcturian hybrids in that self description? What questions should we ask?
They are very spiritual, more spiritual than the other um, areas. Like the Fendorians and Arcturians are very similar, as well as the Syrians. They are all very religious, or not religious, but spiritual in the sense that they make sure that morals are being taken care of. They make sure that priorities are done. They are prioritizing all the time. They are making sure that things are in order. They are making sure that what they do will consist of the purity that they want it to consist of. They do not like muddled thought processes. They do not like interacting with people that don't know what they're talking about. They shun people that are egotists, and they only want to speak to the intelligent and the spiritual.
Super cool. How about Orions? How do we recognize? What questions would we should ask to recognize Orion hybrids here?
Orions are pushy. They are the pushiest of all the ones that are out here. Orions want to have their way about most things. They are dominant. They are control freaks, if you want to call that, but they are also highly technological. They are highly aware of how to use technology. They are highly aware of how to use it in any way, shape, and form that they can. They are responsible for the stargates. They are responsible for now making the stargates better than they were before. So it is that the Orions are pushy, but they are also very intelligent. They're very technologically oriented, and they need very little prompting to take over.
All right. Did I forget anyone? Yeah, I guess the grays. How do we recognize gray hybrids?
There are several different species of the grays, as you call them. The Zeta grays are very negative, and you will find that they are not cooperative.
Oh, wait. Can you translate to questions which we can ask human hybrids to recognize that they are from gray hybridization?
They will be disgruntled sometimes, but they are always argumentative. They want to push their point. They want to make sure that their point is heard, and they want to make sure that they are never disincluded in a place where they want to be included.
That's it. Any
Well,
positive? I mean, people wouldn't answer questions in that sort of.
Well, they're highly intelligent.
Uh-huh.
They are highly intelligent, but yes, you will find them to be very loyal friends if you make friends with the Zeta Gray. They are very, very loyal. That I can say for them.
What would be physical characteristics of human Zeta hybrids?
They're shorter. They're slightly shorter, at least most of them are, and they seem to age quickly.
What professions would they have?
They would have math teachers. They would be teachers. They would also be chemists. They would also be they would work in laboratories. They would like doing that kind of work because that's the kind of thing they do. They would be insurance men, insurance policy people, and they would be car salesmen.
Would Stephen Hawking be a Zeta hybrid?
I think maybe he might. I cannot tell you for sure. I've not checked his DNA, but I would be not surprised.
How about Elon Musk? Do you know if what
Elon
race
Musk
would be?
Is definitely a Orion hybrid.
Uh-huh.
Orion hybrid, definitely.
Got it. Yep, makes sense. All right, I think I don't want to hold it too long, but that was very helpful, and now we can start the closing part. I invite a spiritual guidance and blessings.
Did you want me to say a prayer?
That would be
Yes.
fantastic, yeah.
One moment. Yowaha. Tian sia kwata. Usisia fendi. Yindi notundo. Fratia. Ankia madotu. Undisi waku mutukua kashan. Dati wuti. Owa andi. Mabori avajunda. Netepo. May you all be blessed and feel the spirit that is here with us today of fellowship, and learn all the things that have been taught today. Let it sink in. Let them be accessible to you if they are needed. Bring about joy and understanding and fresh hope to this nation that you live in, and bring about all the things that are necessary for oneness to unite the world. In all the things of your people, I pray and give thanks to God.
Thanks, Jim. Ayahud Allah na ayahud na hat gada ma hay kada ukta gada ana ama ulay at o akata ya na akiti da ulay hana unna ha ama na haya ulay ya hana na uta ala wana hana una wana ya pata ala ha una hana haya ya marana haya uta.
Excellent. What a wonderful blessing that was.
I thought it was a formula.
It was a blessing in a formula form.
And okay, go ahead, whoever.
No, well, that was it. We're at the end of our. We're there. Actually, our room is emptied. It's just a.
I think Angie is there, right?
Yes, Angie's here. Angie will do announcements, but I just want to tell you, Max, thank you for sharing your research with us, and we look forward to hearing how it goes. Make sure that you get a form on your site so that people are on our site, so people, if they want to participate in this research, they can do it maybe with a sort of what do they need to provide and a way to contact you.
I will.
So as soon as that's up, we'll let people.
Yeah, I'll put just for the closing again. It will be on hucolo.org, dnaresonance.org, and you can contact me, maxrempel.com. No, maxrempel@gmail.com. maxrempel@gmail.com.
Perfect. So anyone that's interested, and whether you're seeing this webinar now or even a month from now or 3 months from now, I'm sure Max will still love to hear from you. So don't think, oh, it's the past. So again, thank you for being here, Jim. It's always nice to see you on an off week when you're.
Well, Max was here, and I haven't seen him for a while, and I wanted to say hello.
No,
It was nice to reconnect with you and with Takurt.
Yes, good.
Yeah.
Thanks.
And thank you
It's
to
great
Blair
to reconnect with you as well. All right.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Jim. Angie, do you have some announcements for us?
Yes, thank you. Yes, thank you. We have.
Angie, would you like to turn on your camera?
Oh, not really.
Okay, that's fine.
We have our gathering scheduled for August 8th through August 12th, 2024 here in Canandaigua, New York. And we are going to be at the Onand Park. And it is going to be an amazing time. We're going to have Rob Gothier here. We are going to, bring together some great energies. Also, it is the Lionsgate start of that. If you are interested, please email classes@hucolo.org. I will get any information out to you on how to be a participant.
Max, you're invited too.
Oh, thank you. So far my plan is to skip that. It's just too much is happening.
All right.
And on this closing note, Karen, do you want to close somehow?
Yes. I just want to tell everyone thank you so much. And I was just saying that, and I was saying with my mic muted, talking out loud to myself, maybe during the retreat, we can Zoom you and you can be part of one of the talks or something, even virtually. That might be nice.
Sure. I can even record if you like.
Yeah, so that would be fantastic. And then next week, Jim will be back. And that's all we have for now. So thank you everyone for being here. Thank you for to people in the chat, YouTube chat, and also the people in the room. and we love you, and we'll see you next week. Thank you so much. And thank you, Max, for
Thank you.
fantastic information.
Fantastic, Max. Have a good day.
Good
Thank
day.
you.